Hi, this is Lisa from creativecanines.blogspot.com with Copic Lesson 7, and we're going to look at coloring clothing, and our lesson today is on coloring pleats. Now there are some kind of tips and tricks for pleats, and let me kind of just give you a couple ideas here. On the pleat, the area in the center, on the raised part of the pleat, is lightest, with the areas outside being the darkest. Areas in here are darker, with this being lighter, okay? And I'll show you as we go along. This is a really cool new digital stamp by Prairie Fairy. It's called the Daisy Fairy. I just found this digital stamp company and really love their stamps. They're really whimsical and pretty. If you notice, I did her legs, but I have not done her arms. And the reason why is because these pleats up here are going to touch your arms. I tend to do those things last because I want to make sure I don't have any bleeding. So these are the colors I'm going to use. I'm going to use BV04, BV02, BV00, and BV40, okay, quadruple zero. I do use more colors, especially with pleats, because you have to show a real gradient of color. I'm going to start with my darkest color, which is a BV04, and over here is going to be mostly the darkest color. Lay this in. Now, this is a pleat that kind of goes under. So the darkest area is going to be right here. And once again, I'm going to lay my color in very lightly. I'm going to go to my BV02, and I pick these BV colors the blue violets tend to blend really nicely. And for pleats, I think they're a nice way to kind of start because you don't have to work so hard at blending. I'm going to go in with my BV00. Now I'm not going to add my BV40s in yet here because this is farther away from my light source in a sense, but it's also because of it's a smaller area. I tend to use just 3 colors on smaller areas. With the bigger colors, I'll go ahead and use 4 or 5 colors. Well, the line's a little there and that makes me nuts. Okay, so now we're looking at this again. We're going to use our darkest color. This is going to be the darkest area right here. Okay, and underneath here, I have a little bit more. This is the dark area of the pleat. This is the pleat next to the light area. That's important too, so you can have some contrast. The BV02, blend that in. And the BVs, they just blend so nice. They do make this so much easier. And I'm using the new basic gray, I can never say the word, is it Kyoshi? Japanese inspired paper that's all really soft, and these blue violets are in there. Now I'm going to use my BV quadruple zero after my double zero here. Okay, now this is going to really show the pleat. As you can tell, that gradient of color. Now, the lighter colors, even with the BV, blend pretty well, but to me, I want that blended a little bit more, so I'm going to use the side of my marker with a double zero and kind of go over that, add a little bit more color. There we go. Okay, once again, I'm going to start with my darkest marker. Now, this is different here. This is the inside of the pleat here. Can you see that? With this being a top pleat. So you're going to have dark going in here. Okay. I'll go with my BV02. And I work these pleat by pleat because if you were to lay down all the dark at once, the dark would be dried and it would be so hard to blend. You can do it, but you have a tendency to overblend, and when you overblend, it tends to bleed. And as we approach this top part of the pleat here, that's going to be the lightest area. Okay, once again, I want that blend to be a little smoother, so I'm going to use the side of my BV00. Now let's look at this underneath pleat. It's going to be dark, but I don't think it's totally dark because it's going to get a little bit of light. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and darken this up here. Now I'm going to go with my BB02. I'm just going to use 2 colors on this. And now you can see once you darken that pleat, the other pleats look so much more pronounced. Now, this is different here too, right? Because this is the lighter section. The lighter section is going to be in the middle. We're going to have 2 darker sections around it, but they're going to be very, very little compared to the other darker sections we did. Just enough to show that there's contrast on the image. Without contrast, you can't tell what colors you're using. It tends to all look one color. So it's important that you add in your areas for contrast. Now this is a small area. I might be more inclined to use 3 colors, but I'm going to go ahead and squeeze that 4th color in here. And the reason being is because this is going to be really light right there. And I want to make sure that that's represented. I'm going to go ahead and do that with more of a side profile there of my marker. Very good. Now you can see that that's light. All right, and once again, underneath this pleat is going to be darker. And you can see, it's kind of cool actually. This is one thing I love about Copics, is that the image transforms in front of your eyes. It's almost kind of like magic. There you go. Do you see how that made that pop back up? It looks more like a pleat. Now, because my BB quadruple 0 is such a big difference from these up here, we see a little bit of color that's not as smooth. So I'm just going to go back with really a light touch with my BB00, because I want to maintain that color. Now, once again, this is a dark area, because this is a real underneath here. There's like at the pleat, the inside of the pleat. Go to here. BB02. Now, this inside the pleat is a little bit bigger than the other ones we've been working with. I am inclined. I'll go ahead and leave it like that. I like it. All right, now, as we know, these pleats where it's this signifies to me that this is the top of a pleat, and you can see these all through this. So that means on either side of this pleat are going to be darker, and we're going to work our way in, kind of like the hair. Remember how I said we work backwards? So I'm going to work backwards with this. I'm going to put dark and dark. Be really careful with our little fingers there. Okay, now I'm going to go in with my 2nd color, BB02. Working dark to light, but I'm working kind of backwards. I'm working towards the center where the light's going to be. And that's what we do with hair too. That's a little bit easier to show with this. You go with the BB00. And I'm coloring my BB00 into the BB02. Okay, now you see that white area I left there. I'm going to go back in with my BB quadruple 0. Color that in. Okay. Now I'm going to go back with my BB00 and add a really light stroke with the side there. That it's, to me, laying down color with the side is akin to doing the tip-to-tip coloring, which I actually find fairly frustrating because I think it takes too long. I only really do that for my cheeks. To me, that makes a little bit more sense. Okay, I like that. Now we're going to go underneath this pleat. Once again, that's dark. The color there. And this image is so perfect for pleats. I mean, this dress is so fantastic. Okay. Once again, this is a dark area. This is away from the light source. And I do on this one have my light source coming from up top. Because to me, there's the image suggests that. And also, I think pleats are easier to do with an over-the-head light source. I'm going to color this darker. Make sure the darker's by here. Okay, we have another pleat here to do. All right, I'm going to use my dark.